For a month, we'd been married, and for a month, she hadn't let me touch her. We were roommates, not husband and wife. I finally worked up the nerve. I want a divorce, I told her. She looked at me and said, "So touch me. How will you know if you don't even try?" I was floored. 1 second, I was ending our marriage. The next, she was daring me to start it. The tables had turned so fast, I felt dizzy. I stared at the glass on the coffee table, my knuckles white. A divorce, I repeated, my voice tight with frustration. The air in the living room went still, the only sound the ticking of the clock on the wall. The woman on the sofa across from me finally looked up. A pair of cool, detached eyes met mine from behind her glasses. This was my wife, Dr. Isabella Reyes. We'd only been married a month, but for that entire month, she'd been an iceberg, so cold she wouldn't even let me touch her. We shared a bed, but lived in different worlds, our days punctuated only by silent meals. I'd had enough. Why? Her voice was calm, but I caught the faintest tremor in it. I let out a bitter laugh, my eyes tracing the long line of her legs. I felt my throat tighten. Because this isn't working, my voice rose with resentment. We've been married a month, and you won't let me lay a finger on you. What am I to you, a ghost? She froze. A strange light flickered in her eyes. After a moment, she pressed her lips together, her voice as cool as ever. So touch me. How will you know if you don't even try? I stared, dumbfounded. I thought she had to be joking, but a second later, she tossed a small box onto the coffee table between us. It landed with a sharp slap. I looked down. A brand new box of condoms. My head roared, blood rushing to my ears. Her eyes were suddenly red-rimmed, glistening with unshed tears. But her tone was defiant, almost a taunt. Go on, touch me. Her voice cracked. Try. How can you say it's not working if you won't even try? I was completely stunned. What happened to the cold, distant woman I'd been living with? Where did this challenge come from? A storm of emotions churned inside me. Part of me was still furious, but another part was thrown completely off balance. I glared at her, my throat raw. Isabella, don't play games with me. She reached up and took off her glasses, setting them on the table. Her long, dark hair cascaded over her shoulders, transforming her from an aloof professor into someone fragile, disheveled. I'm not playing games, she said. You think we're not compatible? Then prove it. My heart hammered against my ribs. My breathing went ragged. What the hell was she doing? Was she calling my bluff? 1 minute, she was an untouchable ice queen. The next, she was looking at me with those red-rimmed eyes. It hit me then that I had never really understood her at all. She was a fortress of ice on the outside, yet she could say something that set me on fire. The silence stretched for a few charged seconds. She bit her lip and turned away, refusing to look at me. If you want a divorce, I won't stop you. Her voice was a low, wounded murmur. But don't you dare put all the blame on me. You're the one who gave up before you even tried. The accusation hit me like a punch to the gut. This was not how I'd pictured this conversation going. I had expected a cold nod, a detached, fine if that's what you want. But she didn't do that. She was on the verge of tears. My brow furrowed, my thoughts a tangled mess. Isabella, what is this? She sniffled, pushing the box of condoms closer to me. You're the one who's complaining. So do something about it. My mouth was dry. The air was thick with a tension so intimate it was suffocating, yet I couldn't move. For the first time in a month, I felt like a stranger in my own marriage. What was she thinking? This woman, cool, reserved, with hair that fell to her waist and legs that went on for days. In college, she was the girl no one could get close to, the one they called the Ivory Tower Goddess. Now, she was still that untouchable figure to her students. And somehow, she was my wife. Legally, officially my wife. But for a month, she had rejected every advance, refused any intimacy, drawing a clear line between us. I thought she didn't care about this marriage at all. But the tears in her eyes shattered that assumption. I opened my mouth, but only a croak came out. Isabella, what do you really want? She stared at me, her voice trembling but stubborn. I don't want you to misunderstand me. She bit her lip, cutting herself off. It's not that I don't want to. It's just. My heart clenched. Not that she didn't want to. Then why the hell had she been so cold for a month? I was speechless. The only sound in the room was the ragged sound of our breathing, a tense, awkward, and charged rhythm. I looked down at the box on the table, my fingers trembling slightly. The whole situation felt absurd. I'd started the evening demanding a divorce, and now I was being dared to save my marriage. It was like my entire life had been flipped upside down. I shot my head up, locking eyes with her. Isabella, you'd better be sure about this. My voice was gravelly. You're the one asking for a test drive. Don't you dare regret it. Her body tensed, and a faint blush crept up her cheeks, but she said nothing. In that split second, I saw a swirl of emotions in her eyes, fear, hesitation, and a flicker of something I couldn't name. Anticipation. My stomach dropped. This so-called divorce crisis was just the beginning. I stared into her watery eyes, my mind a chaotic mess. I was the one who wanted out. How'd I end up being the one backed into a corner? After her challenge, she fell silent. She turned, walked into the bedroom, and shut the door behind her. I sat on the sofa, staring at that little box for a full 10 minutes. My head was spinning, my heart even more so. What the hell was that? I came in ready to end it, and she'd managed to light a fire in me with just a few words. The next morning, I opened my bedroom door to find her already dressed and ready to leave. A tailored blouse, a knee-length skirt, her long hair falling naturally over her shoulders. She looked pristine, untouchable, like a goddess who didn't belong in the mortal world. But the sheer nude stockings she wore made my eyes fixate and my throat go dry. I swallowed, forcing a calm I didn't feel. About last night. She cut me off, her tone frigid. Don't bring it up. That single phrase lit my fuse. So, she could throw down a gauntlet and then pretend it never happened? Did she think I was an idiot? She grabbed her bag, ready to walk out. I shot out an arm, blocking her path. Isabella, what the hell is that supposed to mean? She frowned, meeting my gaze. What's what supposed to mean? You dared me last night, and now you're telling me to forget it? Her eyes flickered. Then why didn't you try? She said coldly. My heart pounded. This woman was infuriating. With that, she sidestepped me and left, leaving me standing there, my chest tight with frustration. Was she playing games with me? Stringing me along? I clenched my jaw. A thought sparked in my mind. You want to play games? Fine, let's play. That evening, she came home from work. I was waiting for her in the living room. She pushed the door open and stopped short when she saw me. Why are the lights off? I didn't say anything, just watched her. She looked uneasy as she set down her bag and took off her coat. The thin fabric of her blouse was almost translucent under the dim light, outlining the curves of her body. A fire ignited in my gut. I stood up abruptly and walked toward her, closing the distance between us. She backed away. What are you doing? I gave her a cold smile. Didn't you tell me to try? Panic flashed in her eyes as her back hit the wall. I didn't mean right now. Then when I pressed, cornering her, her breathing was shallow, her eyes growing red again. But the next second, she shoved me hard and darted into the bedroom, slamming the door in my face. The loud bang echoed in the silent apartment. I stood there, frozen, my fist clenched so tight my knuckles cracked. What the hell was her problem? She provokes me, then runs away. It was like she was deliberately turning me on just to throw a bucket of ice water on me. A wave of pure rage washed over me. I walked to the bedroom door and spoke, my voice low and dangerous. Isabella, this isn't funny. Her muffled voice came from inside. I didn't do it on purpose. Then what was it? Silence. She didn't answer. The quiet was maddening. I leaned against the door, taking a deep, shaky breath. God, she wasn't being cold. She was scared. But right now, she was driving me absolutely insane. The third night, she came home drunk. The faint smell of wine clung to her. Her cheeks were flushed, and her eyes were hazy. I frowned, helping her into the apartment. Why did you drink so much? She looked up at me, her gaze unfocused. Work dinner. She let out a soft giggle, her voice husky and warm. You said you wanted to try, didn't you? My whole body went rigid. Was she serious, or was it just the alcohol talking? I stared at her. She was leaning back against the sofa, her legs crossed, her skirt riding up slightly. The sliver of pale skin was blinding under the lamplight. My throat went dry, my heart hammering in my chest. Damn it, this woman was going to be the death of me. I gritted my teeth and moved toward her, leaning down. Isabella, are you sure? She blinked slowly. No, she whispered. I froze. What? Her gaze drifted, but her hand came up to push weakly against my chest. No, I'm scared. Her voice was barely audible, but the words shot straight through me. I stopped cold. Looking into her eyes, I finally understood. She wasn't playing games. She wasn't trying to string me along. She was genuinely struggling. Something inside me cracked. I took a step back, breathing deeply. Damn it, I actually felt sorry for her. I poured her a glass of water. She took it, her hand trembling. Isabella. I kept my voice low, watching her. What are you so afraid of? She bit her lip and didn't answer. She just bowed her head as a tear splashed onto the back of her hand. My chest tightened. In that moment, for the first time, I realized this woman wasn't an untouchable ice queen. She was just trapped inside a shell she'd built around herself. I didn't push her anymore. Instead, I reached out and gently pulled her into my arms. Her body stiffened, but she didn't push me away. Remember, I whispered, I'm your husband. You don't have to be afraid of me. Her shoulders trembled as she leaned against my chest. The room grew quiet, filled only with the sound of our breathing. My anger slowly melted away, replaced by an unfamiliar ache of sympathy and a tangle of complex emotions. We didn't go any further that night. She fell asleep in my arms, a deep, exhausted sleep. I, however, stayed awake all night. Staring at the ceiling, one thought consumed me. I had to figure this woman out. Isabella slept in my arms. That night, she slept soundly while I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. One thought kept circling in my mind. This woman was an enigma. On one hand, she was so cold she could freeze you from a mile away. On the other, she was so fragile she could break down at a single word. I couldn't read her, but one thing was certain. I couldn't stand this hot and cold marriage anymore. The next morning, she woke up to find herself curled against me and immediately went rigid. Ew. She shot up, her face flushing red. I rubbed my temples, my voice firm. Isabella, we need to talk. She hesitated, chewing on her lower lip. Talk about what? Our marriage, I said, laying it all out on the table. It's been a month. You've been an iceberg, and I've felt like a stranger in my own home. Either we get a divorce, or we set some ground rules. She stared at me, her eyes flickering with uncertainty. I tossed a piece of paper and a pen onto the bed. Write up a contract. Spell out everything a husband and wife are supposed to do. She looked stunned for a second, then gave a cold laugh. You think a marriage is a business deal? It's better than what we have now, I shot back. The atmosphere turned icy. She was silent for a long time before she suddenly reached for the pen. Fine. My heart jumped. I hadn't expected her to actually agree. She bent over the paper, writing with a quick, decisive hand. A few minutes later, a marriage contract was sitting in front of me. I scanned it and almost laughed out loud in disbelief. One kiss, mandatory every day. At least one date per week. No silent treatment during arguments. All issues must be resolved the same night. Mutual respect. No bringing up the past. I stared at her. What the hell is this? She pushed her glasses up her nose, her expression unreadable. A contract. You wanted one. I wrote one. Is there a problem? I was speechless. I wanted to set boundaries, and she'd turned it around and written a set of rules for a romantic comedy. Are you serious? She nodded coolly. Of course. I gritted my teeth. What about marital duties? You know, the part where we're actually married. Her eyes flickered, but she kept her face a mask of indifference. Then added. My eyebrows shot up as a spark of anger flared. Fine, you want to play games? I grabbed the pen and added a fifth clause at the bottom of her list. Marital duties must be fulfilled. I finished, slammed the pen down, and stared at her. Sign it. She froze, a faint blush coloring her cheeks. But after a moment's hesitation, she clenched her jaw and signed her name. The contract was official. Over the next few days, it went into effect. The first morning, as she was about to leave for work, she stopped at the door and turned to me. We missed one. I was confused. What? She suddenly stood on her toes and pressed a quick, soft kiss to my cheek. Her lips were warm, her scent sweet. I stood there completely still. By the time I recovered, she was already gone, leaving me with my heart hammering against my ribs. Damn, this contract was actually kind of interesting. That evening, she dragged me to the grocery store. Clause number 2, she announced. 1 date per week. I raised an eyebrow. A trip to the grocery store counts as a date. Of course, she said, matter-of-factly. I was speechless, but watching her push the cart, carefully selecting fruits and vegetables, I felt a strange softness bloom in my chest. This was what a normal married couple did, right? But just as I was starting to be won over by these small moments of domesticity, she doused me with cold water again. That night, I moved closer to her in bed, ready to enact Clause 5. She instantly tensed up, her eyes wide with panic as she pushed me away. No. My anger flared. Isabella, are you messing with me? She bit her lip, her eyes filling with tears. I'm not. She couldn't finish, the words choked off by sobs. In that instant, my frustration evaporated, replaced by a profound confusion. What was she so afraid of? Why did she always pull back at the last second? I stared at her, my voice low. Isabella, you need to tell me what's going on. She just shook her head, refusing to speak, tears streaming down her face. I was torn apart with frustration, but couldn't bring myself to push her further. Finally, with a heavy sigh, I turned over and lay with my back to her. The room was filled with a dead, suffocating silence. I knew our marriage was at a breaking point. Divorce or to keep trying. I didn't know. All I knew was that if I didn't get some answers soon, I was going to lose my mind. The next day, I taped the contract to the bedroom wall. I circled Clause 5 with a red marker. Isabella, I'll give you time, I told her. But don't forget you signed this. She stared at the paper on the wall, her face pale, her fingertips trembling. I could feel her fear, but I also knew I had to push her. It was the only way we could ever break this stalemate. This battle for our marriage had only just begun. The marriage contract was taped to the wall, the red circle around clause 5 like a thorn stuck between us. Isabella glanced at it every day, and every day she would flinch. But she still wouldn't cross that line. Life continued in that awkward state. Until one day, I got off work early to pick her up. She was a professor at Bridgewater University, known campus-wide as the resident ice queen. I parked by the main gate, leaning against my car as I waited. Before long, a crowd of students emerged from one of the academic buildings, all young, eager faces with admiring eyes. In the center of them was Isabella. She wore a simple blouse and skirt, her hair loosely tied back, heels clicking on the pavement. She exuded a cool, restrained elegance, like a white orchid untouched by the world. The students were clearly fawning over her. One young man shyly offered her a bouquet. Dr. Reyes, these are for you. She frowned slightly, shaking her head. Thank you, but I don't accept gifts from students. Watching from a distance, I felt a smug sense of pride. Look at all these guys chasing her, and she was my wife. But just as I was about to walk over, a smarmy-looking man blocked her path. Isabella, class done? I'm heading to the parking garage myself. Let's walk together. He was in his late 30s, starting to go soft around the middle, and clutching a box of expensive chocolates. Isabella's face was a cold mask. No, thank you. The man persisted, trying to shove the chocolates into her hands. Come on, don't be a stranger. It's lonely walking by yourself. Wouldn't my company be better? The students around them started whispering. My eyes narrowed, a hot flash of anger rising in my chest. Who the hell was this guy? I strode forward. Isabella. My voice cut through the chatter. Everyone froze. Isabella looked up, a flicker of surprise on her face. What are you doing here? I ignored her, walking straight to the man and pushing the box of chocolates back into his chest. My wife said she doesn't want them. That means she doesn't want them. The scene went dead silent. Then the students erupted. Wife. Oh my God, Dr. Reyes is married? The sleazeball's face turned ugly. He glared at me. And who are you? I smiled, wrapping an arm around Isabella's shoulders. Her husband. Isabella stiffened slightly, but didn't pull away. The man's face went pale, but he managed a strained smile. Isabella, you're married? Why didn't you tell any of us? I cut him off coldly. What business is it of yours? A venomous glint appeared in the man's eyes. He smirked. I see. No wonder you've been so cold all these years. You had someone waiting in the wings. The students gasped. The anger in my chest roared to life, and my gaze turned murderous. What did you just say? The man sneered, lowering his voice. A word of advice, buddy. A woman like Isabella isn't for just anyone. You think you hit the jackpot? Please. My eyes narrowed, rage coiling in my gut. But before I could do anything, Isabella spoke. Professor Davies, you've crossed a line. Her voice was sharp, her eyes like daggers. I'm asking you to stop harassing me, effective immediately. The man, Davies, froze. I smirked, pulling her closer as I turned to leave. You heard her. My wife made herself perfectly clear. As we walked away, I could feel her shoulders trembling. Back in the car, I let her go, my voice hard. Who was that? She looked down, her tone flat. A professor from my department. Davies. He's always been a nuisance. I frowned. A nuisance? That was harassment. She didn't say anything. That only made me angrier. Isabella, what is wrong with you? How long has this guy been bothering you? You just let him. She pressed her lips together, staring out the window. The silence in the car was suffocating. I slammed my fist on the steering wheel. Do you really think you have a handle, everything on your own? She flinched. I stared at her, gritting my teeth. Remember, you're my wife. You're not in this fight alone. The car was silent for a long time. Finally, she spoke, her voice barely a whisper. Thank you. My heart skipped a beat. Her gaze was no longer distant or cold. It held a hint of something soft, something vulnerable. In that moment, something inside me shifted. That night, she stood at the bedroom door and suddenly spoke. Ethan. I looked up. She was holding the marriage contract. Thank you for today. She paused. Clause 5. I'll work on it. I was stunned. Then a wave of heat washed through me. She looked down, the tips of her ears turning bright red. Just give me some time. I walked over to her, cupped the back of her head, and pulled her into my arms. Okay, I said, my voice hoarse but firm. But remember, Isabella, you're my wife. Anyone messes with you, they have to go through me first. Her body trembled slightly. I could feel her defenses finally starting to crumble. That night, she placed a marriage contract in my hands, her head bowed. Her voice was quiet, but held a sincerity I'd never heard from her before. Clause 5. I'll work on it. My heart pounded, and I fought the urge to pull her even tighter. But she quickly slipped away and retreated to the bedroom, leaving me alone with my heart racing, unable to calm down. It was the first time since we'd gotten married that she'd truly yielded. In the days that followed, the change in her was palpable. The icy mask was gone. In the mornings, she'd occasionally hand me a cup of coffee. When she got home from work, she'd offer a quiet, "Hope you had a good day." Her tone was still reserved, but I could feel her trying to bridge the gap between us. I swore to myself I had to seize this opportunity. A few days later, around 10 at night, she was at her desk, frowning under the lamplight. Stacks of papers were piled in front of her, her red pen flying across the pages. I brought her a mug of hot milk. "Take a break. You've been at it for hours." She looked up, her expression weary. 30 more to go. I'll sleep when I'm done." I sighed, setting the milk down. I came up behind her and gently started rubbing her shoulders. She flinched, but didn't pull away. A surge of hope went through me, and my touch grew softer. "Why do you push yourself so hard?" "Student dissertations. They're on a deadline." Her voice was tired. I couldn't help but look down at the delicate curve of her neck, at the strands of hair that had escaped her clip. A familiar, powerful urge washed over me. "Isabella." My voice was low. "We're husband and wife, not roommates." Her body tensed. The pen in her hand skittered across a paper, leaving a crooked red line. I leaned in closer, my breath warm against her ear. She snapped her head up, her eyes wide with alarm. "Ethan, you said you'd work on it." I reminded her, my eyes locked on hers. Her cheeks flushed, and she bit her lip, her breathing quickening. After a moment of charged silence, she whispered, "The truth is, it's not that I don't want to. I'm just scared." I froze. My heart squeezed painfully. "Scared?" She looked down, her voice so faint I could barely hear it. "Before." She trailed off, her fingers gripping the pen so tightly her knuckles went white. A cold dread washed over me. I had a sick feeling I knew what this was about. "Your ex-boyfriend?" Her shoulders trembled. It wasn't a denial. The air grew heavy. My throat felt tight. I gently took the pen from her hand and turned her chair to face me. "Isabella." I looked at her red-rimmed eyes and kept my voice soft. "I'm not him. I would never hurt you." The tears finally fell. One after another, they splashed onto the papers in her lap. In that moment, my heart ached for her. I pulled her into my arms and held her tight. She tried to resist, but finally gave in, burying her face in my chest and sobbing quietly. "I don't want to be lied to again," she choked out. "I don't want to be abandoned again." My jaw tightened. "Then you listen to me," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "From now on, I'm not going anywhere. You're my wife, and I'm going to protect you for the rest of my life." Her crying intensified, but slowly, her arms came up to wrap around my waist, holding on for dear life. We didn't sleep at all that night. She stayed in my arms and told me everything. Her ex had wooed her with sweet words and promises, only to cheat on her and then blame her for it, calling her cold and unloving. The betrayal had nearly broken her. After that, she'd built a fortress around her heart, believing it was better to be cold than to ever risk that kind of pain again. I listened, my fists clenching, wanting nothing more than to find that bastard and beat him to a pulp. But I just held her, telling myself over and over, I will make her believe that marriage isn't a trap, but a safe harbor. By dawn, she had fallen asleep in my arms. Her breathing was even, the tension gone from her brow. She looked like she'd finally laid down a burden she'd been carrying for years. I leaned down and gently kissed her forehead. "Isabella, from now on, you can count on me." The next morning, she actually overslept. Looking at her peaceful face, I felt a sense of profound contentment I'd never known before. This was our real breakthrough. Not a physical act, but a true meeting of hearts. But I knew this was just the beginning. Her shell had only just begun to crack. The real test was yet to come. The morning sun streamed through the blinds. I blinked my eyes open, and the first thing I saw was Isabella, curled up against me, still sound asleep. With her long hair fanned out on the pillow, she looked less like a formidable academic and more like a young girl. Last night's tears seemed to have washed away all her defenses. My heart softened. I leaned over and pressed a light kiss to her forehead. She frowned in her sleep, but didn't wake, just unconsciously snuggled closer. I smiled, a real, solid feeling of happiness settling in my chest for the first time. When I went downstairs for work, she was for the first time ever waiting for me in the kitchen. On the table were 2 slices of toast and a glass of milk. She avoided my gaze, looking flustered. I just threw something together. Don't complain. I stared for a couple of seconds, then a grin spread across my face. Well, look at this. Is this the esteemed Dior? Reyes's way of showing her love. Her face turned bright red, and she swatted at me. Are you going to eat it or not? I caught her hand, laughing. I'm eating. I'll eat it every day from now on. She pulled her hand away and retreated to the bedroom, but I saw the tips of her ears were still crimson. A few days later, I left work early to pick her up from the university. I arrived just as classes were letting out. She was dressed in a professional skirt suit, her hair tied back, exuding confidence as she walked. A group of students saw her and started whispering. Wow, Dr. Reyes's husband is here to pick her up? That's so sweet. I want a boyfriend like that. I stood at the main gate, waiting for her without an ounce of shame. When she saw me, she froze, and her expression instantly turned cold. What are you doing here? Picking up my wife from work, I said, as if it were the most normal thing in the world. Don't be ridiculous. This is a university, she hissed, but her eyes darted around nervously. The students were now openly staring. I made a point of walking right up to her and taking her hand. A professor this beautiful? If I don't come get you, someone might try to steal you away. Her face was flaming red. She tried to pull her hand away, but with an audience of her students, she was trapped and had to settle for glaring at me. Once we were in the car, she shot me a death glare. Did you do that on purpose? I feigned innocence. What's wrong with a man publicly picking up his own wife? She huffed and turned to look out the window, but I could clearly see the corner of her mouth twitching into a smile. Slowly but surely, the changes in her became more obvious. She started putting food on my plate at dinner. Sometimes, if I was working late, she'd leave a meal out for me with a note. Heat this up before you eat. One night, after grading papers, she suddenly handed me a piece of candy. To keep you awake. I stared at it, then at her, grinning like an idiot. She put on her best indifferent face. What? If you don't want it, give it back. I immediately unwrapped it and popped it into my mouth. So sweet, I mumbled deliberately. She rolled her eyes at me, but her ears turned red again. However, her old fears hadn't vanished completely. One evening, I came out of the shower with just a towel around my waist. She was coming out of her study at the same time. Our eyes met, and she froze. Her gaze flickered over my body for half a second before her face went completely scarlet. Can't you put some clothes on before you come out? I raised an eyebrow. We're married. Married people still need boundaries, she snapped before slamming her bedroom door shut. I stared at the closed door, caught between frustration and amusement. We'd broken the ice, but getting her to truly let go was going to be a step-by-step process. A few weeks later, the university hosted an academic banquet. I went with her as her +1 and saw her in her element for the first time. When she spoke, she was calm, articulate, and so sharp she left a few senior professors speechless. Every eye in the room was on her. I was bursting with pride. I couldn't stop myself from saying to the person next to me, a little too loudly, "That's my wife." My reward was a fierce glare from across the room. When we got home, she kicked off her heels and collapsed onto the sofa, exhausted. I walked over and started rubbing her feet. She flinched, trying to pull away. What are you doing? Helping you relax. Professor Reyes had a tough day. I held her foot firmly, gently kneading it. She bit her lip, her face flushed, but she didn't fight me anymore. Isabella, I said softly. Don't be afraid of me. She froze, her eyes flickering. After a long moment, she gave a quiet, okay. My heart soared. That one small word was more powerful than any promise. But just as our relationship was finally finding its warmth, an unwelcome guest appeared. That afternoon, when I went to pick her up, I saw a man in a sharp suit blocking her way in the parking lot. Isabella, long time no see, he said with a confident smile, but his eyes held a familiar, possessive glint. Isabella's face instantly turned to ice. I have nothing to say to you. A sick feeling coiled in my stomach. The real test, it seemed, was about to begin. Isabella, long time no see. The man's voice was smooth, but laced with a smug intimacy. I narrowed my eyes, sizing him up. He was in his early 30s, wearing a tailored suit, his hair perfectly coiffed. He had a certain air about him, but his overly familiar smile just rubbed me the wrong way. Isabella clearly wanted nothing to do with him. I have nothing to say to you. Please move, she said, her voice like ice. But the man wouldn't back down, physically blocking her path. Isabella, are you really going to be like this with me? After everything we had, you're just going to forget it all? My heart hammered. So this was him, the ex-boyfriend. Isabella's face was glacial. Julian, don't flatter yourself. I told you a long time ago, we're over. Julian. I committed the name to memory. I stepped forward, moving to stand between him and Isabella, my gaze sharp. Excuse me. She's my wife now. Who the hell are you to be blocking her way? He looked surprised for a second, then sneered. So you're Ethan Miller. That's right. I stared him down. Just a regular guy, right? How many zeros are in your bank account? What kind of piece of junk car do you drive her around it? He looked me up and down, his tone dripping with contempt. Isabella, are you really going to spend your life with a man like this? Does he deserve you? Isabella's face paled. She opened her mouth to speak, but I beat her to it. Whether I deserve her or not is none of your damn business, I said coldly. I took Isabella's hand, lacing my fingers through hers. My wife chose me. That's all the validation I need. When I said that, Isabella flinched, her eyes wide as she looked at me. Julian laughed. She chose you? Isabella, are you being honest with yourself? He took a step closer, his eyes boring into her. Why did you agree to marry him? Was it to spite me? To run away from me? The questions hit their mark. Isabella's face went white, and she fell silent. My gut clenched. Just as I was about to retort, Julian pressed his advantage. Isabella, you can't lie to yourself. You're not over me. How long have you been married to him? A month? Don't tell me you two haven't even done what a married couple is supposed to do. His words were like a dagger, aimed straight at Isabella's heart. She gasped, and a deep blush spread across her cheeks. A roar exploded in my head, and fury surged through me. I lunged forward and grabbed her by the collar, my eyes blazing. Who the hell do you think you are, talking to her like that? Julian remained calm, a smirk playing on his lips. What's the matter? Did I hit a nerve? He leaned in. I'm telling you, Isabella is mine. She hasn't dated anyone all these years because she still has me in her heart. You're just a replacement. Crack. I couldn't hold back. My fist connected with his jaw. Julian stumbled backward, clutching his face, his eyes dark with menace. You hit me? You're damn right I did, I snarled. And if you say one more word, I'll break you. A few people in the parking lot had started to stare and whisper. Isabella's face was ashen. She grabbed my arm. Stop it. This is the university parking lot. I was breathing hard, my eyes still locked on Julian. He wiped a smear of blood from his lip and smirked. Isabella, do you really think he can give you the life you want? You'll regret being with him for the rest of your life. He fixed his gaze on her. When you come to your senses, I'll be waiting. With that parting shot, he turned and walked away, leaving the air thick with tension. I turned back to Isabella. Her expression was a storm of conflicting emotions. She looked like she wanted to explain something, but in the end, all she said was, let's go home. The drive was heavy with silence. My hands gripped the steering wheel, Julian's words echoing in my head. Don't tell me you two haven't even done what a married couple is supposed to do. I didn't dare look at her, afraid I'd see hesitation in her eyes. Finally, I broke the silence. He's really your ex? She was quiet for a moment before giving a soft, yes. Why did you break up? She flinched, her gaze darting away. I don't want to talk about it. My heart sank and I clenched my fists. Don't listen to anything he said. I won't let anyone insult you like that. She looked up at me, a flicker of surprise in her eyes. I pressed on, gritting my teeth. You remember this. You're my wife. I've got your back for life. No one gets to mess with you. The car fell silent again. After a long moment, she asked quietly, You don't regret this? Regret what? I scoffed. So you have a past. Everyone does. Right now you're mine. Her lips trembled, and her eyes glistened as if she was fighting back tears. I reached over and took her hand, holding it tight. She stiffened for a second, but then relaxed, letting her hand stay in mine. When we got home, she sat on the sofa in silence for a long time. I poured her a glass of water. Don't think about him. He's just a piece of trash. She looked at me, her voice low. You don't understand. I do understand, I interrupted. You're afraid he's going to ruin your life. But don't worry. As long as I'm here, he won't get the chance. Her eyes welled up, and she finally whispered, Thank you. An ache spread through my chest. I reached out and pulled her into my arms. Don't be silly. You don't thank me for this. Her body was rigid at first, but she didn't push me away. In that moment, I knew Julian's appearance hadn't weakened our marriage. It had pushed us closer together. And this was only the beginning. After that night, Isabella wasn't herself. During the day, she maintained her cool professor persona, confident and poised in front of her students. But the moment she came home, she was like a ghost, withdrawn and silent. It was killing me to see her like that. Julian's return hadn't just brought up the past. It had torn open an old wound. But she wouldn't talk about it. A few days later, I went to pick her up from work early. I found her in her office talking with another female professor. I waited outside, not wanting to interrupt, and accidentally overheard the other woman's sigh. Isabella, you can't be soft with him. After what a monster Julian was to you back then, I can't believe he has the nerve to come back and bother you. Isabella's voice was hushed. I'm not being soft. I just don't want him to destroy my life again. He's already done enough damage, the other professor said, indignant on her behalf. If it weren't for him, would you still be so afraid of men? The words hit me like a physical blow. So that was it. That was the truth. On the way home, I was silent. Isabella noticed. You're quiet today. Is something wrong? I glanced at her, deciding to be direct. What exactly did he do to you back then? She froze, her hands clenching in her lap. She didn't answer for a long time. It wasn't until I parked the car in front of our building that she took a deep breath, her voice so quiet it was almost lost. Do you really want to know? Yes, I said, my gaze unwavering. She looked down, as if dredging up a memory she had long buried. He cheated on me. The two words landed like hammer blows. Isabella managed a bitter smile. I was so stupid. I trusted him completely. I was even planning to marry him. Then I found out he was sleeping with my best friend. And when I confronted him, he turned it all around on me. He said I was cold, that I wasn't womanly enough, that I didn't know how to be a proper wife. Blood roared in my ears. And then what? My voice was tight. Her eyes were red, her fingers digging into the car seat. Then he told me, to my face, that a woman like me was only good for acting superior on a podium, but in bed, I was useless. Her voice trembled violently, the old wound torn wide open, and tears finally streamed down her face. A sharp pain lanced through my chest. No wonder she avoided intimacy. No wonder she'd kept me at arm's length for a month. She had been humiliated in the worst way possible. I didn't say anything. I just reached over and pulled her into a fierce embrace. She struggled for a moment, then collapsed against me, her body shaking with sobs. I whispered in her ear, "Don't be afraid, Isabella." Everything he said was garbage. He wasn't worthy of judging you. I held her tighter. In my eyes, you're perfect. You're the best woman in the world. Her crying grew harder. You don't understand, she choked out. That kind of humiliation, it follows you like a nightmare. I clenched my fists, making a silent vow. I would help her escape this shadow. A few days later, I planned a short weekend trip. I told her we both needed a break from work, a change of scenery. The truth was, I wanted to get her away from everything that reminded her of him. We went to a small town in the mountains. As we walked through the night market, she surprised me by reaching for my hand, her fingers lacing with mine. In that moment, I saw a softness in her eyes I'd never seen before. I knew then, she didn't want to push me away. She was just trapped by her past. That night, a massive thunderstorm rolled in. The rain hammered against the windows of our little cabin. Suddenly, the power went out, plunging the room into darkness. I lit a candle and saw her huddled in the corner of the bed, her face pale. "Isabella, you scared of the dark?" I asked softly. She didn't answer, just bit her lip, her eyes wide. I went over and sat beside her, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. "It's okay. I'm here." She trembled, then finally looked up at me. Her eyes were filled with tears, her voice a choked whisper. "Ethan, what if I can never get over this? Will you get tired of me?" My heart clenched. "No," I said firmly. "Listen to me. I will never get tired of you. Even if you never get over it, I will be right here with you." She stared at me, stunned, tears tracing paths down her cheeks. The next second, she threw herself into my arms. "Why are you so good to me?" I sobbed. My throat tightened. "Because you're my wife," I rasped. "Because I love you." The air went still. She pulled back, looking at me, her eyes wide and tear-filled. And then she kissed me. It was a desperate, searching kiss, filled with tears and longing and the courage of someone finally letting go of their defenses. That night, as the storm raged outside, a fire ignited inside. She finally gave herself to me, completely. Through tears and trembling, she whispered, "If I had known you were like this, I wouldn't have wasted a whole month." I held her tight, only one thought in my head. In this moment, I had finally saved her, and in doing so, I had finally, truly made her mine. After that night, Isabella and my relationship went from an Arctic freeze to a blazing fire. The next morning, I woke up to find her snuggled in my arms, her long hair fanned across the pillow. Her skin looked impossibly white against the sheets. She no longer looked like a detached professor, but like a woman who had finally found a safe place to land. I couldn't help but smile, gently tracing a finger along her cheek. She stirred, her eyes fluttering open. The moment she saw me, a blush crept up from her neck. "What are you looking at?" she mumbled. I grinned. My wife, the most beautiful woman in the world. She playfully slapped my chest and rolled over, turning her back to me, but I could see the smile she was trying to hide. From that day on, our marriage shifted into true husband and wife mode. She started waking up before me to make breakfast. I'd come downstairs to find her in a simple house dress and an apron, quietly frying eggs. I'd wrap my arms around her waist from behind and whisper in her ear, "Good morning, Professor." Looking very domestic today, she nudged me away. "The stove is on. Don't mess around." But she never actually pushed me away. At breakfast, she gave me an extra sausage with my eggs. I teased her, "Is this a bonus for good behavior?" She shot me a look. "Eat it, or I'll give it to a stray dog." I immediately shoveled it into my mouth. I'm eating. Anything my wife makes is the best thing I've ever tasted. She couldn't hold back a small, satisfied smile. But even sweet domesticity had its bumps. One afternoon, I went to pick her up from work and found a group of male students swarming her, eagerly offering to carry her books. My jaw tightened. I walked right over, took the entire stack of books from them, and slid an arm around her shoulder. "I've got it." The students stared. "Dr. Reyes, who is this?" I smiled graciously. "Her husband." Their jaws dropped. "Wow, Dr. Reyes is married." The disappointment in their eyes was palpable. I felt a surge of satisfaction and deliberately ruffled her hair in front of them. She maintained a stony expression all the way home, but the second we were through the door, she pinched my arm hard. "What was that in front of my students?" "Ouch!" I yelped. I was staking my claim, protecting my territory from poachers. She rolled her eyes, but she didn't argue further, and the tips of her ears were bright red. The best moment, though, was when she got jealous. There was a new woman in my office, Chloe, who was young and bubbly. One evening, after we'd worked late, she walked me to the elevator, laughing about something. The doors opened, and there was Isabella waiting for me. Chloe smiled. "Thanks for the help, Ethan. Talk to you tomorrow." Isabella's face instantly froze. She turned and stalked off without a word. When we got home, she didn't even take off her shoes, just stood in the middle of the living room. "Did you have fun?" she asked, her voice dripping with ice. I was confused. "Fun? What are you talking about?" She glared at me. "She was smiling so brightly at you, and you two seem to be having such a great time. Is that your type?" I almost burst out laughing. "Babe, are you jealous?" She froze, her ears turning a shade of crimson I'd never seen before, and tried to walk away. I pulled her into my arms, a wicked grin on my face. "So, the great Dr. Reyes gets jealous after all." "Let go of me," she struggled. I held her tighter, whispering in her ear, "Don't worry. You're the only woman I see." Her body went still, her breathing hitched. After a long moment, she muttered, "Smart mouth." But I felt her relax completely in my arms. Life got sweeter and sweeter. We'd go grocery shopping together. She'd walk ahead with a stoic expression, but I'd always find my favorite snacks secretly added to the cart. When I'd catch her, I'd lean in and whisper, "Admit it, you secretly care about me." She'd blush and snap, "Don't be so narcissistic." But the snacks always made it through checkout. We started cooking together. She'd chop vegetables while I worked the stove, the kitchen filled with warm steam. I'd sneak up behind her, wrap my arms around her, and cover her hands with mine as she held the knife. She'd jump. "What are you doing? You'll make me cut myself." I just laugh. Teamwork makes the dream work. "You're so childish," she'd grumble, but we'd fall into an easy rhythm, a silent dance that ended with a table full of food. "Try this," she'd say, offering me a piece of chicken. I'd take a bite and pretend to consider it. A little salty." Her eyes would narrow. "If you don't like it, you don't have to eat it." No, I love it," I'd say quickly, smiling. "Salty is good. Makes me want to eat more rice." She'd lift her chin, satisfied. "Then eat more." Our new happiness inevitably attracted gossip. One night, we were a little too loud, and the next morning, our next-door neighbor, Mrs. Gable, gave me a knowing look in the hallway. "You young people need to have some consideration," she said with a pointed cough. "The walls in this building are thin." Isabella's face turned scarlet. As soon as we were inside, she started chasing me around the apartment. "This is all your fault." I dodged her, laughing. "Hey, you were the one making all the noise." She lunged and covered my mouth. "If you say one more word, I will end you." I tackled her onto the sofa, grinning. "Bring it on. I'm ready for round two." With every passing day, she shed another layer of her armor. The cold, unapproachable professor was gone. In her place was a woman who could be playful, who could get angry, who could get jealous, and who could laugh like a young girl. I knew she had finally, truly given me her heart, and I did everything in my power to cherish and protect it. She was the only woman for me, for the rest of my life. The sweet days passed so quickly, I thought we could go on like this forever. Until he showed up again. It was a Friday afternoon, and I was picking Isabella up from work. The moment I got to campus, I knew something was wrong. Students were huddled in small groups, whispering and looking at their phones. Is it true? Dr. Reyes's past is that much of a soap opera? Look at this post. It says she got dumped and was some rich guy's mistress. No way, not Dr. Reyes. She's so above all that. A cold dread washed over me. I walked faster. There, on the main bulletin board in front of the department building, someone had plastered printouts of anonymous posts. There were blurry, obviously stolen photos and paragraphs of twisted, malicious lies. The words were designed to crucify her, to ruin her reputation. And she was standing right in front of it, her face a mask of cold fury, her eyes red-rimmed. Rage, pure and absolute, exploded inside me. Who did this? I roared, stalking forward and ripping the papers off the board. The students scattered, startled by my outburst. Isabella tried to stop me. Don't. I pulled her into my arms, shielding her. It's okay, babe, I said, my voice low but fierce. I'm here. No one is going to touch you. But it wasn't that simple. That evening, as soon as we got home, her phone started blowing up. An anonymous thread had appeared on a popular university forum. The headline was sensational: Bridgewater professor's messy private life and questionable marriage. The post was filled with shockingly accurate details, including the fact that we hadn't slept together for the first month of our marriage. This was a targeted attack. Someone was deliberately trying to destroy her. Her face was pale, her fingers trembling as she scrolled through the comments. I snatched the phone out of her hand. Stop reading that. But the students will see this. The administration will see this, she said, her voice shaking. Isabella, I said, taking her hands in mine. Listen to me. None of this is true, and you are not going through this alone. She stared at me, her eyes filled with helplessness. It felt like a knife twisting in my gut. The next day, I found the person behind it. Her ex, Julian. He'd somehow found out about our early marital struggles and twisted them into a weapon. I met him at a coffee shop. He was as arrogant as ever. Ethan Miller, do you really think you deserve Isabella? She's a respected academic. You're nobody. He smirked. Your marriage is a joke. End it now, and she can be with me. We're in the same league. I laughed coldly. You think you're in her league? I know exactly what you did to her. His expression soured. So what? The university, society. They don't forgive a woman with a stain on her reputation that easily. His voice turned venomous. Trust me, even if she won't be with me, I will ruin her. My fist clenched. I wanted to smash his smug face in, but I held back. I knew violence wouldn't solve this. I had to destroy his plan completely. A few days later, the university convened an emergency faculty meeting. A few professors and student representatives were demanding an investigation into Dr. Reyes's professional ethics. The public pressure was suffocating her. I held her hand tightly. Let me handle this, I whispered. In front of everyone, I stood up, my voice ringing with conviction. My name is Ethan Miller, and I am Isabella Reyes's husband. I paused, letting my words sink in. Those rumors are lies. All of them. She is a dedicated teacher and a decent, honorable woman. Her only mistake was once being blind enough to fall for the wrong person. My voice rose. But she did nothing wrong, and she does not deserve to be slandered. I am making a statement here and now. She is my wife, my only wife, and that will never change as long as I live. The room erupted in murmurs. Isabella stood frozen, tears streaming down her face. After the meeting, the university didn't issue an immediate decision, but the tide had clearly turned. Students started posting messages of support online. Dr. Reyes is the most dedicated professor we have. She would never be that kind of person, and whoever started these rumors is disgusting. The pressure began to ease. When she looked at me now, her eyes held a new, complete trust. That night, she wrapped her arms around me, her voice thick with emotion. Ethan, why would you do all that for me? I stroked her hair. Because you're my wife, I said softly. Protecting you is my job. Her tears broke free, and she pulled me into a deep, desperate kiss. A week later, Julian's identity and his smear campaign were exposed. The backlash was immediate and brutal. His reputation was left in ruins. The storm was finally over. We sat on the balcony, and she leaned her head on my shoulder. Ethan, she whispered, I really thought I was going to lose everything. I squeezed her hand. You will never lose me. She was quiet for a moment. Then she looked up at me, her eyes shining with earnestness. Then can we have another wedding? A real one this time. I was taken aback for a second, Then a huge grin spread across my face. I pulled her into a tight hug. Yes, I said, laughing. Absolutely. I want the whole world to know that you, Isabella Reyes, are my wife. The night was soft around us. She was smiling through her tears, held safe in my arms. I knew, without a doubt, that this was our real beginning.